What was that? What was that? That was awful. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of 12th Man Up. I think it's best I didn't give my initial reaction last night because it would just be me ranting about how badly we played, which will probably be a little bit of what I'm going to do this morning as well. But what have I been talking about in these past few videos about building a culture within this team? Russell Wilson's gone, Bobby Wagner's gone, the two leaders of the offense and the defense are gone. It's up to these guys now to build a strong culture, to bring ourselves together. And if we can't do that during the preseason, how are we supposed to do it in the regular season? I don't want to hear that we didn't have 20 of our starters playing, so it doesn't matter. No, we were struggling with basic things. Last week it was tackling. This week it was penalties and for the wide receivers having too many drops. This is the NFL. If you're a wide receiver, you should be able to catch the ball that is thrown right to you. Geno Smith, okay, he threw the ball. He threw a nice ball on third down to Freddie Swain, who was like 15 yards, right at him. I mean, a little high, but it was right there. He was in the air. Missed it. Bo Melton, missed it. Even when Eason was playing, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, who we got for Ugo Amadi, right into his hands in the end zone, couldn't hold on. I mean, how many balls were there that we just couldn't hold on to? If we're having too many issues with basic things, how as a team are we able to advance on specific things to take down teams that have their starting players? I mean, these were the Bears. The Bears. Even the Bears starters aren't anything special. We played most of their backups. We were shooting ourselves in the foot throughout the entire game. We had 13 penalties for 92 yards. Unacceptable, obviously. We got one more week until we play against Wilson. We play the Cowboys next Sunday, and then Wilson comes into town. You know what he's doing right now watching this game? He's laughing. He's laughing. He's happy he left. I had spoken about Pete Carroll doing a good job of developing young players, but this was terrible. And I'm going to start off with the special teams. The special teams head coach is Larry Lizzo. He's been with the team for 11 years, and it didn't look like it last night. Okay, Jason Myers missed a field goal for 47 yards after barely making a field goal last week. Jason Myers, that's our starting kicker. Okay, Johnson, he dropped the punt return, like right on the one. They picked it up and they scored. Unacceptable. We couldn't tackle when we would kick the ball. They had a punt return for 48 yards. The one good thing I'll say from the special teams is at the end when we had that onside kick. Jason Myers hit a good kick there. I'll give you that. Now, before I move on to the offense and the defense, I just want to point out that this was just a lack of focus and discipline. There wasn't much fire. I mean, this was a home game. I heard a couple boos listening to that game last night. That was not good at all. There needs to be a fire within this young team, and I didn't see it last night. And I get it. It's hard to have a fire as a young team when you're messing up on basic things, but a lot of these guys are playing for their jobs. And it was just sloppy all around. Really sloppy. We looked unprepared for this game. And I get it. It was a Thursday night game. We had to get ready quick, but this is part of football. This is things we need to be prepared for. Now, moving on, we're going to go to the offense. Now, the offensive line last week was really good at creating gaps for our running backs, for Ken Walker, Homer, Dallas. This week, they weren't so great at creating those gaps. Homer had one really good run because he was able to bounce off the offensive line. And I'm excited to watch him, but running the ball, we weren't good at all. And then I felt like the play calling, we were running short routes, and we got a lot of check down passes on third down. And then we would rely on receivers to make an extra 4 or 5 yards to get the first down. It just wasn't happening. Run your hitch all the way to the first down so we could stay on the field. Now, the most disappointing thing of last night was Charles Cross's penalties. I mean, holy cow. How many of those did he have? Like 4? 4 or 5? When the plays were actually in process, he actually did a good job of blocking, except for one he had a holding. But he did okay. But as the game went on, the overall offensive lines started to deplete. And it just wasn't as great as I had hoped it was. I mean, the pass blocking was decent, but the run blocking wasn't great. Geno Smith, look, it's not all on him that we didn't play too great last night. He was 10 for 18 for 112 yards. He hit Swain. He hit Melton. They both dropped the balls. Cross did a good job of forcing him to go back even further on third down. So you can't blame him. He had a swatted ball on third down. But he also held on to the ball too long on one play. He also tripped over Homer while doing a play action. I mean, it's just little things here. This was Geno's moment. This was his moment to show that he should be in the starting position over Drew Lock. And he didn't look any better than he did the week before. You know what Drew Lock's doing? He's like, okay, looks like it's still up for grabs, because it is. And we're playing the Cowboys next week. I think Drew Lock's going to start. Why wouldn't he? Not to say that Eason played significantly better than Geno. I mean, he had some sloppy plays, but he still went 17 for 35 for 141 yards. And he should have scored. If Melton didn't drop the ball, if Whiteside didn't drop that deep ball, Eason threw decent. I mean, he was sloppy here and there, but it wasn't terribly off. I mean, this guy isn't getting nearly as many reps as Geno Smith and Drew Lock, and I don't think he did terrible at all. Geno Smith has got to do better. I don't think it's fair to compare Geno Smith to Russell Wilson, but if Russell Wilson did play like that, we would be dragging him through the mud, saying that was completely awful. He's got to be a little more clutch than that, and he wasn't. Like I said, Travis Homer did pretty good running the ball. He had some good plays. Thompson, I'm guessing his third, fourth string, he had an impressive hurdle, and he was able to score eventually. Guys fighting for those positions. There were some individual players who actually performed pretty well. I'm going to get to a few on the defense as well, like Kobe Bryant, Nuwasu, Miles Adams. So some guys did perform well, but overall as a team, it just didn't look good. It was very sloppy. And a lot of that is on the coaching staff. The coaching staff has to do better. Now, what did I talk about last week? About the defensive line. Okay, when we're passing when the Bears were passing the ball, when the Steelers were passing the ball, we did a good job of applying pressure, making him get that ball out quick. But all of a sudden, when they start running the ball, they just push our defensive line back, especially our interior defensive line. I mean, they could have ran the ball on us the entire time. And that's why they were on offense for a long time. Josh Jones, he had a good tackle on a bubble screen. It's just someone fighting for a spot. I think this was in the first quarter, and he read it perfectly and made a good tackle for negative yards. So good for him. Nuwusu had applied a lot of pressure and made the quarterback scramble out. Good for him. Miles Adams got a sack. So look, like, it's the pass plays that we do really good on, but then we're relying too much on our linebackers to make the tackle, which they struggled to do, and our corners to make the tackles, which they absolutely can't do. So we need to figure out a way to kind of hold those offensive lines back a little more on those run plays, because we're giving up an average of, I'm guessing, like 4 or 5 yards a carry. Now, Kobe Bryant almost got an interception when he came in later on in the game. He had good coverage. And then he had man coverage one-on-one in the end zone, and he had a perfect block, even when he was beaten off the line. So good for him. He was fighting well. But at the end of the game, Pete Carroll said that this was not a great game from us at all. And it wasn't. There are a lot of things here to fix, and he said so himself. Big list of things to fix. Now we got an extended week until we play the Cowboys for another preseason game. It'll be our last preseason game, and I'm pretty sure the majority of our starters will be going in for that game, and I hope to be impressed. I'm not expecting this team to be very successful going into this season. But what I don't want is I don't want Russell Wilson coming into town week 1 and saying, wow, I am so happy I'm with the Denver Broncos and not Seattle. No, I want him to show up and Seattle to show up. I still want us to have that culture to where we could be a solid team. But this has got to get together now. Because preseason, the season hasn't even started yet. And this is not looking good. So, unfortunately, it wasn't a game for us. Hopefully, we can figure some things out. I'm hoping that Pete Carroll can do what he's supposed to be good at, which is developing these young players. Like we said, 20 of the guys, at least 20 players didn't start for us here. And I think this is going to be a tough week for all those players in those locker rooms. They're going to get yelled at. They're going to be hard on it. And that's what we need. And I think that's good. So there are some positive things that will come from this game. I think this next long extended week will be harder on the team. And it's going to be a little more discipline, which is what we need. So other than that, what did you guys think of this game? Feel free to comment below. Does this look like it's going to be that way coming in the regular season, or is it going to be a lot different? Because who knows? It could be a lot different. I could be surprised. That was just hard to watch. And I just really hope, I don't expect us to have a winning record. And I just hope that we compete in these games. And not be like this. And we're not shooting ourselves in the foot like we were this entire game. I don't care if we lose, but I do care if we're fighting or not. I do care if we're able to make tackles. Or not having as many penalties. Or at least catching the ball. So some basic things to fix up on. We'll see how we do against the Cowboys. I'll keep you guys updated as to what's going on. And other than that, go Hawks.